Quantum Bombs.
Welcome to Quantum Bombs, a commentary show on the human condition through metaphysics and freedom. Today, the show is literally the epitome of my tagline in the beginning. I named it the human condition because this is truly a condition our souls take on. And I'm going to explain it to you today using metaphysics and indeed freedom, which is my libertarian angle, but really it applies more to the soul than anything, because if you're human, then your soul is not free. It is caged in this human body because we're here on planet Earth. That's how I know your soul isn't free. We're going to do this in 3 parts, which is up front, we're going to go over the paradoxes of the soul. Second is more of the fundamental, like what you could remember to take away, like literally what is the soul? And then the third part is like, how does that deal with humans? And what is your soul nature? And my goal for you by the end is to realize you should be coming more from your soul's nature, to enjoy your soul's nature. Just what in the heck is that? By the end of that, you'll completely understand what I mean. Before we jump into it, I wanted to say quickly, because we're marching into the age of AI, please watch my latest episode, our 12 AI futures. You won't find a better, more comprehensive and more utilized framework than that one. We need to understand what we are and what AI will never have, because we're already starting to use the words intelligence and conscious. Is it conscious? So it's important you understand what these fundamental things are from a very black and white standpoint. So the future, when we have cyborgs among us and everything, it's very clear. The other part is that this isn't woo. I'm not a new age woo person, wrong channel. I try to keep things real. I'm coming from usually a place of philosophy mixed with physics. I categorize my information as a very spiritual person, getting to see the best of all of the places and like teachings throughout and meeting all the crazy people and watching crazy people, at least the knowledge coming at me in twofold, right? I have my fun woo stuff, right? I'd consider that a book. For example, Souls on a Journey, those famous books. I've read both of them. That, though, I still put in the woo category, the fun knowledge that I like hearing it. And if I hear it enough, it might be truthful. But what we're going over today is from the reverent side. Church, monks, nuns, priests, pastors, esoteric, ancient wisdom that applies to all religions. So also, because we're all humans, we all have a soul. This episode's for everybody. Doesn't matter what you believe. I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there. So when I'm throwing these things at you, your filter is, I have an auditor's brain, an analytical brain that likes to think of things as objective, subjective, horse crap or not, right? I care about what I'm putting out there. So it's not woo. It's going to sound woo because a lot of this is soul stuff. It's metaphysical, right? Everything's unseen. But yet I'm trying to come at it from the most place of integrity on one of the most arguable subjects of all time. Okay, straight from my notes from church in October 2018, the soul's paradox is endless yet beginningless, unborn, part of spirit, forever free yet bound. It's indestructible. No fire can burn it. No water can drown it. No wind can dry it. It's indestructible. Ever one with the infinite. Then fast forward now, I'm in December of 2019. I had more notes on the paradox of the soul. Beyond contrast of duality. Forever yet in bondage. No heat, no shadow, untouched by anything. Doesn't see or hear, yet is all-knowing beyond all of comprehension. So that is actually what your soul is. Just quickly go back to that. Beyond contrast of duality. So you're beyond the difference of duality. What is duality? It's demonic, it's Satan, it's Maya, delusion, black and white. So you're even beyond that. Your soul is actually beyond that. But yet we still know our soul needs saving because why? It's still in the body cages. We're still in the delusion of earth. What do I mean by that? We're still in the game. We're in the play. We're not free. We're bound by our body cage. Because I am a visual person, I will draw this out a little for you. And now we're going to get more of the nuts and bolts of just what the soul is. This is your soul. And I kept saying 3 body cage. Just think of yourself as the bird in this cage of 3 bird cages, right? We're not going to get into it today. I'll make another video, but if this is your ideational thought matrix causal body, it has 35 blueprints, ideations of what you're made of. That's part of your bodies. This is going to be your life-tronic energetic body, right? 19 thought matrix things that manifest into reality to create that energetic body of reasoning, thought, intelligence, 5 senses, etc. And then you have your 13 elements, chemicals, metallic and non-metallic, that make up your physical body. Okay? But the point is that your soul is actually encaged inside this 3-body vehicle suit. Again, you have your causal body at the most fundamental level. It's an ideational idea thought matrix that makes you you. Then you have your life-tronic energetic body that's covered in your physical human earth suit, okay? So you're definitely bound. That's what not only are we bound because we're never going to get out of the matrix of where we came from. Let's just forget the body because today is about the soul. People would say your soul is consciousness in light, but that's actually incorrect because that is still going back to the cage that we just described. Light, when you say it, it's actually, when people talk about it spiritually, those are 2 separate things. See, me coming from physics, I'm like, is it a neutrino? Because neutrinos are those subatomic particles that can pass through mass. No, it's not. It's not a photon or anything like that. When people reference light as spiritual, it's something different. Spirituality would also say, well, it's definitely not the physics type of light we're describing. We're describing a spiritual light. And what is that spiritual light is the crux of what we're going to get to through this explanation I'm going to show you. But it's not, so that's why it's tricky. You can't say your soul is made up of consciousness and light. To understand what it's made of, it's easy to go back to the moment of singularity. Not the one that we have coming up with AI, the one that was like, it's 14 billion years old, Singularity. Okay, I'm making a documentary actually about energy and creation and annihilation, and I started off like this, so I'm kind of going to walk you through it, which is like I'm this girl in a desert, and you hear my voice, and I'm sitting there and I'm saying, you know, I'm going to show you the most mysterious condition in the world, right? So close your eyes. We're going to zoom out from the desert. We're going to keep zooming out into outer space. And I'm telling you, even if we could zoom out and travel faster or just as fast as the speed of light, I believe for thousands, if not billions of years, we're not going to get outside of space-time. At the moment of singularity, the Big Bang, boof, we've been expanding ever since then. So our universe has expanded so vast, right? Well, we've got to go all the way through our universe back outside of space-time to get to before the moment of singularity, where everything is a void, all beyond all detectable energy, below the 0 point field, below the vacuum, everything. There's nothing, right? And that right there is the most mysterious condition to humans of all time, throughout all ancient wisdom, physics, etc. We could all at least agree it's the most mysterious moment on Earth. What was that state before the moment of singularity? But now, if I take you back into, let's go to church, baby. Now we're in church. I want you to put yourself in a bed. This is also what the moment of singularity is like. Put yourself in bed, close your eyes, now you're dreaming. Vast, massive dream. Black space everywhere. In this vast black space, there's 3 things there with you. The first is omniscient intelligence. Just because I can't pronounce it perfectly doesn't mean it's not true. Omniscient intelligence is beyond all knowing, right? It's all knowledge, all wisdom, all intelligence of past, present, future, what is and what never will be. A massive amount of knowing. Along with that is extraordinary peace. Peace beyond all knowing. So you're very chill and you're very knowledgeable. And bliss. Not just bliss, but new bliss, right? So it's like, let's just say you got tired of the chocolate bar. Well, you found a new chocolate bar that's even better. You got tired of the sex. You found sex that's even more interesting. New bliss, meaning things, it doesn't run out. The bliss is immeasurable. And in a second, I'll give you an analogy of how you could put that into context. That is what most likely the moment of the Big Bang, before the Big Bang was like, before God had its moment of singularity. Now we are God, right? We're having the moment, and all he did was make his image. We're made in the image of God, and we're made in the reflection of God, okay? So now we're all these individuated points of consciousness. This is our little moment of singularity, blasted out. All these POVs. These are all POVs down there, okay? Upon editing, I realized I left out the meat and potatoes, so you get regular Beth today because it's that important. What do I mean by we're forever bound? What does that mean we're not free? So remember the explosion. You are the particle, the individualized point of view. You are the individualized consciousness. So you're that dot outside of the explosion. God blew himself out, created many pieces. Go back to the play. I didn't connect that either. So when God was dreaming this dream play of earth, before the moment of singularity, you have him going, I'm infinite, everything of all knowing, of all bliss. He was perfect. There's one of those fundamental philosophical questions: is God perfect? If God was perfect, why would he create the world? Great. Well, it's because he just wanted to, for fun. You see, so it was for positive. It wasn't a need. He didn't lack anything. He did it for fun. So he's dreaming. He's bored. This amazing knowing. Shot himself out into many pieces. Individuated points of consciousness. Now, what do I mean by you're forever bound, not free? Even after you kick the bucket, your little soul now goes to heaven. You're still inside the thought matrix. Let me go rewind back to when we're on earth, though, real quick while I'm here. When you're that point of view on earth, you are part of the fundamental field. You connect back to the larger consciousness system, aka God, via the fundamental field. You have many other names for it, ether and many other things, but I just like to call it that because it's friendly to both sides, science and religion. Now go back to heaven, right? So we've kicked the bucket via the fundamental field. Your little consciousness travels on the matrix. Now you're in a different, actually you're right here, but you're in a different measurability of dimension. Lighter, very much lighter. Heaven is right around us. That's what so many people say. Anyways, now from that little individuated point of view, still bound because you're inside the thought matrix of God, but hey, you're in heaven, so who cares, right? And so while you're in heaven, the reason you're still bound is because nothing exists outside of the larger consciousness system. Nothing exists outside of God. This is also known as panentheism. Our Bible is a bit theistic, but also very panentheistic. Anyways, and I have many episodes on ontology. If you go and check that out, I believe it is which God are you praying to? And it's just making the point of how does God interact with the world? Well, if you drill down to it, it's panentheistic. We can't get outside of the mind of God, the play that he set forth when he outside a singularity created space-time. Okay, so that is why we're forever bound, because we're part of a system. Okay, now to the nuts and bolts of what is the soul. So I hope the case I'm making, going back to the moment before singularity. By the way, I didn't tell you that the name for that condition, besides being the absolute, the name is actually spirit. It was unmanifested spirit, and then it manifested out, right, during singularity. The thread I'm trying to draw, I'm going to call that the unknown God substance, because we're not calling it light, because spiritual people say light, but it doesn't match the type of light in physics. We're best actually just using the word consciousness, which is ironic because if you go down that rabbit hole, humanity and academia doesn't even know what that is. Of course, the spiritual side, people that have devoted their lives to understanding what consciousness is, being able to physically leave the body, change consciousness states, and hang out and visit God in old heaven, definitely have a different understanding of it. But that is the nuance of our life. We live in many different realities in one virtual reality. So we're going to call it the unknown God substance. That same substance permeates throughout the fundamental field, our matrix, right? poof, the Holy Trinity's out here. We've got this matrix that connects everything. So that same unknown God substance permeates the fundamental field, and our tiny little ethereal soul that is inside our three-caged body system is also made of that same unknown God substance, because we are a reflection, because we're made in the image. And that's also why it's like we can't come out of this. We can never be destructed. And it's also mind-blowing to know that it's infinitely intelligent and infinitely happy, yet we don't even know it, right? I'll get to that here in a second. I don't think I've covered that yet. Anyways, so while I can't say what the substance is, which is usually how you define something, the what, the fundamental what, I can give you some of its attributes. It is not light, as we've discussed, and it is not energy, because it is the reason energy can exist. This is coming from my favorite physicians. Is that how you say it? It is not the wave. It is the reason the wave can exist. It is not the force, because it's the reason the force can exist. So that is why it's probably best said, it is the largest mystery. It is the most unknown substance of all. And what I'm describing, the substance is, we have physical world and our periodic table. We have our quantum fields. It has its own standard model, just like the periodic table has those 17 quantum fields. I'm talking beneath that. We have the vacuum, the 0-point energy field. Beneath that, that is always popping up. For everything is arising from what's beneath that. That's the mystery I'm talking about. It's the same type of energy before the moment of singularity. And it's the same type of stuff that your soul is made of. So that's the magic stuff. And that is what AI will never have. So I know it sounds hokey, like, what does that mean? We're made in the image of God and we're made in the reflection of God. What is God? I'm going to give you the 4 pieces of definition for the sake of understanding the soul. Okay, the first one, as you see, omnipresent. So what does that mean? He's everywhere at all times, outside of time, inside of time. He most likely, when he had the moment of singularity and he kept some of himself back in the unmanifested spirit, and then boom, the rest was manifested spirit, creating the Trinity, etc. But it's important to know that top one, God, that's the one part that our soul won't reflect. So he's omnipresent everywhere all at once. And your soul takes on the same bottom 3 qualities he also has. As a reflection of God, we are ever existing, meaning going back to what we just described above, which is we're not born and we're infinite, right? We've got all these paradoxy words to use. Ever conscious, ever new bliss. Ever conscious, ever existing, ever new bliss. Now, I don't want to confuse you. If you watched my show before, just a side note, I would say always what is consciousness? And I always tell you it's a 3-sided coin. It's easy to remember. I'd say it's your soul, it's your awareness / I am, and it's your existence, right? But this is the bigger topic, because consciousness goes under the umbrella of the soul, right? The soul is, there's nothing, like as we just discussed the paradox, there's nothing left of you to strip down, but down to your soul, right? So the consciousness is part of the soul. I'll read you this. Though usually unrecognizable behind its mask of mortal consciousness, aka human consciousness, its desires and habits, this perfect image of God nonetheless dwells within the body temple of each human being. And the body temple is where our 1,000-petal lotus of consciousness is located in the brain. So the soul is located in this life-tronic lotus-like thing inside our brain, somewhere probably up here at the medulla oblongata, if I had to make a guess. Okay, at the base of the medulla oblongata, somewhere in there, refracting actually. So the spiritual eye is actually a reflection of God again. This is just a side bit. That's the medulla oblongata up here to where the Christ Consciousness Center, and that it's just a reflection bouncing off and back. It's like a portal into everything, into the whole universe. You could travel through it. It's quite fascinating if I got more into it, but I don't want to get lost on traveling through the portal inside your head, which really opens you up to everything that you are already part of and only separated by delusion anyways. So I want to illustrate out what is bliss. I remember again going back to church, think of a beach, guys. Put yourself on a beach on a sunny day. Look at one of those bubbles on the beach. Now, that tiny little bubble is actually one of the best moments of your life. Think of some time when you won something or when you had a baby, something, the best time of your life, right? The best day, one of your best achievements. That tiny little bubble represents that one huge, massive achievement. Now, the ocean of God is all bliss. So that one tiny bubble equates to how good that felt. And now imagine the entire ocean. That is the ocean of bliss that we are swimming in. That is what our soul feels every day. That is where we come from. That is where we return. Now, why don't we feel any of this bliss while we're trapped here in this cage suit? Well, why do you think people are trying to tap into their soul through meditation? The joy is sitting there waiting for us to even touch. I love Abraham Hicks. I love it when she's always like, she has a very clear indication of letting you know that your soul doesn't change. Your soul can't get sold off. It can't be have a bad day. It doesn't feel bad. Your soul's here, baby, right? This is an alignment. This is happiness. This is the bliss on the beach I'm talking about. You, on the other hand, are here living in the muck, living in the ego, living in all the stuff we're going to put on top of it, all of it that we'll talk about here in a second. But you're not looking there. So your clear indication, I love how she makes this black and white. When you are feeling bad, you are not in alignment with your soul's nature. You are in the muck of something you don't want to be aligned with. You're fighting, you're putting up, and you're diving more deeper into the resistance versus feeling the joy. So we often don't feel the soul because it's obscured by our feelings and our senses. Without getting into the mechanics of making this a big on meditation, there's always that saying, your ego steps in, God steps out. Ego steps out, God steps in. Meditation is just a physical, scientific practice of turning off the body's 5 senses so you could stop being bombarded by the awareness, by the monkey mind, right? Like a turtle. So your senses are these telephones ringing, 5 different things, 5 different ways a telephone can ring you with these senses. It's always reminding you where your awareness is, your energy is, right? So meditation is the physical way of saying, okay, we're going to put all the energy out of the nerve endings on my finger, out of the senses, into the spine. All the awareness goes inward, out there. So I could turn off the noise of the world to allow the ego to step out. It may take 30 minutes for your monkey mind to stop, right? Depends on where you're at with your journey. But then steps in God. They always say the first sign of meditation that God is there blessing you is peace. Another way to illustrate why the joy isn't apparent, I made an episode, a video, see it above, where I cover all the stuff is put onto us as human beings in 5 different ways. It's actually explaining the human behavior and where it comes from. And it's 5 different categories in life on where all human comes from. All that crap's on top of the soul, and even your ego, you're tying this idea that this isn't real, right? It's a virtual reality that you're shut down into, but your breath ties your consciousness to the body through the ego. Like the ego and the breath are the 2 things that are keeping you here. That's why also in meditation, if you know, the point is to go breathless. You are breathless in meditation. Good meditators haven't breathed in 20 minutes. They're sitting there in a different state. Their body's doing just fine. And that's also how you know there is no death, because the body actually doesn't require food, water, or breath to actually function. We are electronic, energetic beings. And you're like, oh, Beth, you're crazy. Well, no, if you actually look deep and out down into the rabbit hole of it, there are saints and people all over the world that can be buried alive and survive simply off the understanding of how the life-tronic energy can be exchanged with the world. But I don't want to get off topic. Okay, before we close, I wanted to read this one thing. Our soul is the self, is immortal. We may sleep for a little while in that change called death, but we can never be destroyed. We exist, and that existence is eternal. The wave comes back to the shore and goes back to the sea. It is not lost. It becomes one with the ocean and returns again in the form of another wave. This body has come and it will vanish, but the soul essence will never cease to exist. Nothing can terminate that eternal consciousness. So I guess in closing, the third part I wanted to hammer down for you is that joy is our actual true nature. Go back to Abraham Hicks, living in alignment. If I'm feeling joy and happy, I'm facing my soul. If I'm not, I'm working backwards against it. Joy is our natural programming. That's why it's important to make an effort no matter what. If every day saying, I am happy, I'm going to think positive thoughts because it's your true programming. And while I'm not trying to preach on what you should do and how to live your life, it is easier once you make a commitment to being quiet, rewiring the brain. Some people, if you want to call it mindfulness, that's fine. I call it my own meditation practice, right? The longer I can sit in the stillness and try to dump out all the gook and let in God, and the more apps, the more nature of the soul to come out, it's very obvious. My days are totally different. My intuition pops in when I need it. I'm able to do all kinds of things and things flow, right? Because I'm in alignment with my true self. I'm trying to go around those 3 body cages that we have wrapped our soul is encased in. Okay, well, this is hard for me because the soul's a really big topic, and all I just wanted to cover today was literally what it is, right? It is eternal consciousness, eternal existence, and it's eternal bliss. And I hope you can want to bite off more of it more often. All right, guys. Normally I would stay human, but I don't want you to stay human. Just enjoy the human condition. And I don't even have to tell you to be the soul, because even if I said stay the soul, it's literally impossible for you to not be the soul. That is all we are, as souls on a journey. Thanks for joining me. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Quantum Bombs.